Hi, everybody. I want to introduce you to Jo Gifford, and she's my guest today. And we're going to talk about the importance of emotions and also how you shed things that are in the way. And there's a lot of different ways to do this, but she's got a brilliant way going on, and we're going to talk about that today. Welcome.
Thanks for having me on, honey. It's
Thanks for
wonderful
coming.
to meet you.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Already. So what would you like me to start with? What do you think your audience would like to know?
I really think that they want to know how to be able to directly contact their own higher being. And we have to shed and let go of things in order to get to that higher being. And you have a way that you've been doing that. So I think it's really good to talk about it.
Yeah, I think that my specialty when I work with people is to be able to show people the patterns for a start that they're living in. And when we've lived in a pattern for so long, the path is very well worn. And it's sometimes difficult to see what we're doing and how what we're doing and what we're feeling is creating our life to unfold in front of us. So my specialty is inner child healing, but it's sort of a misnomer in a way because the inner child is just a doorway to enter this sort of massive healing aspect. Because the inner child, I believe, that little innocent, pure aspect of us that comes in is actually your God spark. It is your higher self. It is your divine aspect. The term that I love to use is the traveler. And the traveler is the being that has lived lifetime after lifetime on this realm, but also all sorts of other dimensions and realities, all the way from point zero down to here. And as we journey back. Goriatian jokatish estas tuchtem daya teokunyanaka. Ijotaria kumbo yataye teokunyanaka kikinyanaka. Ijudasia tutyamza kuyenza betikanaya sesa se izutariasha ambakaya sesa. So I'm also a light language channel, and the light language is, as probably most of your audience knows, it's spirit tech. It's a technology given to us from spirit, from source, that allows us to channel frequencies and codes that are, I believe, outside the construct that we're in. So it sort of circumvents our resistance in a way, our logical, rational mind that has been developed to keep us safe and maintain the status quo. So the light language circumvents that, and the frequencies and codes drop into your system and get incorporated into your signature. So, we all emit a frequency, a hum, and it's like a thumbprint. Each person's is very different. And it's comprised of all the things we've experienced, owned and not owned. So this energy gets absorbed, the codes and the frequencies, and it morphs and changes a little bit what you are emitting. And then the world begins to reflect that supplementation. So you then begin to walk into situations that teach you in a way that you may not have walked into previously, or maybe you do, but further down the line. So the light language adds to our own energy signature, and it also has the ability to shift trauma, the frequencies and codes, the tone of my voice, the energy coming through me helps with blockages, helps with trauma that maybe you don't know where it originated. So you don't need to go back in and dive into where it originated. You just need to feel how you feel in the moment. So the light language will help do that. And it also helps recode your DNA. And it also can be a wake-up call from your soul family, from where you've come in from to have this experience in this realm. So the inner child, as I said, is the spark, is your God spark. And we, as we go through, we get layered up. And I believe we get layered up with our unfinished business. We get what we walk into in those first 7 or so years when we're so open and impressionable is sort of what we've yet to own, what we've yet to understand. So there's a good and a bad, a light and a dark in this experience we're having. So we get layered up with all of these things, whether that's powerlessness, anger, whatever it is. And as we wake up, and this is what this realm is about at the moment and has been for the last couple of years particularly, as we begin to wake up, the journey then is to Ascension or 5D is to unpeel all of that stuff. And in the unpeeling of it, you have to go through it. You have to re-feel it. You have to look at it from the perspective of the observer, which is not so swimming in it, but wanting to understand it from that sort of loftier perspective. And so you go through it, you feel it, you breathe it, you get to see it in the breadth and depth and the width of it from this higher perspective. And then you make the choice to let it go. You make the choice that this isn't who I choose to be anymore, and you move forward. Now, some people can do that. Some people can just go, that's it, I'm done. But if you are having trouble through this enlightenment process, this expansion process, with heavy emotions, trauma, doubt, disbelief, I would suggest that you will find the answer as to why that keeps coming up in your inner child, in those first 7 or so years of your life, because it's in those first 7 or so years that you are almost laying out your lesson plan for the life that you are going to walk into.
Yeah, it's so true. That's when most of the programming happens. And I used to do these sessions called the death of ego, and I would dig into the subconscious and then nullify the blocks, which is what you're doing with your program. And it just is amazing after you let go of them. It's like, boink, it's like letting go of a heavy backpack. So that's what you're doing. Yeah.
Well, the controllers around the planet, around this realm,
right,
have been there for, I don't know how many thousands of years, have understood that those first 7 or so years, we are like that sponge. We can't analyze or assess what we're being taught. We take on it as gospel truth from our mum and dad or whoever is close to us. But the truth is, our mums and dads do the best they can, but they've never been taught to heal the wounds inside them. So they overlay those wounds on us. So we are, as I said, set up to have this trajectory through life to unravel this, to heal this, to get to the core. So the controllers have kept us on a hamster wheel of the lower emotions, connected to the first 3 energy centers. And they're all about pain, struggle, survival, etc., power, powerlessness. And so these are heavy, dense emotions. So for me, the ascension process or the expansion process, because we're actually not going anywhere, I think, we are just incorporating higher and higher aspects of ourselves into where we are here. And I had a teacher once that used to sort of yell at us, what do you want to ascend for? You haven't even lived yet. And that is true, because we haven't lived equally and fully through all energy centers. We've been cycling back round and round and round through the first three. And as we begin to heal our wounds, heal our trauma, heal the grief, we get higher and higher. They're no longer incorporated into our energy signature. So the expansion process is letting go of all these heavy, dense emotions to allow a greater frequency then to come in.
Mhm.
So the analogy that you use is, you might have a closet or a pantry full of stuff, and you want to put new stuff on the shelves, but it's full. So what you have to do is take out the old food, take out the old junk, whatever it is, which is the heavy, dense emotions and perspectives, and then the new energy can come in. But the way the energy, from my perception, the way the energy is coming to us and through us, that's happening whether we want to or not.
Mhm.
And you will go there kicking or screaming, or you can actively dive in, bravely look, and move through it. And that's the cleaning out process of the old heavy, dense energies and frequencies to allow the energy to flow through our system again.
Mhm. Yeah, it's so important. It's kind of like you move from one house to the other, and you have to go through your stuff, you have to pack your stuff, you have
Yeah.
to put it in a truck, take it and rearrange it somewhere else. And we can't take everything with us. And we definitely don't want to take this old baggage with us, because it basically is holding us back.
Mm.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, with that analogy, you don't ever, well, I certainly haven't, just chucked everything in a box and sent it on. You look at everything, you go, do I really want to pack this and take it with me? And often you have a pile that you throw out or give to Goodwill or whomever. And that's absolutely a fantastic analogy of what we're going through right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really interesting time, and anything you can do to help yourself right now is going to help other people, because we're emanating this energy, and the better off we are, then the better off the people around us are as well. So it's not just for us, but it is huge for us. Like, it's going to help us go forward and succeed, and also just enjoy it instead of suffering through it too. That's another thing. Like, nobody wants to suffer through Ascension. You want to have fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's also a process of understanding your own power. And when we get to a certain point, we will be able to say no and choose differently. And we're getting more and more of that, because how we've been raised and how society has been and the controllers have been for a long time is to make us powerless, to make us feeble human beings with, that are mortal, that are, unable to create and change. So this ascension process is also taking back your power, finding out that you are a creator being, that you are God or source, or that spark of God or source, however you want to say it. And eventually we'll be able to, manifest that loaf of bread in our hand.
Yeah.
We could do it right now if we knew we could, but we've been dumbed down. We've been told something totally different about who we are.
Well, and we're huge beings, and we all come here for this. We came here, we volunteered, we showed up. So now we have to let go of the stuff that's holding us all back. Yeah.
Yeah. And the way that I see it is, when we heal the micro, which is within us, we are healing the macro. And that whether you have a YouTube channel or teach or whatever, we are influencing the field. So as we heal ourselves and we walk through the supermarket, all of our energy is going and we're dropping codes into people that are around us that maybe aren't ready for what we're doing. So we are affecting the world in ways that we're probably not even aware of.
Yeah, I don't think we're aware of it. It's almost been hidden on purpose, I think, to keep us kind of, in one way, keep the starseeds subdued, but in another way, to keep us safe so we can pop up. And it's time to pop right now.
Yeah. The critical mass, or the 100th monkey, if it hasn't already been reached, it's quite soon, because more and more people, like, you see it all through the internet now, these sorts of conversations, and it just spreads. It spreads and spreads, and eventually it will all sort of join up. Not that we aren't already, but it will become more and more connected, all the starseeds, all the people who are asking the great questions.
Yeah. I saw this crazy video, and it was a newscaster. It was a local news channel, but they're like, there's this group, and they call themselves the Starseeds, and they think that they're ETs incarnated in human bodies, and they're here to save the world. And of course they were laughing about this and stuff, but I'm like, wow, they're really ready to start talking about this stuff, because they would have never put it on the news. I'm sure it was a white hat thing, but they put it on the news. I was like, oh, we made it. We've arrived. It's time to get to work. Yeah.
And there will be, there's no such thing as bad publicity, because it puts starseed, the word, in someone's consciousness, and whether they laugh about it or joke about it or take it seriously, it's in their field. And so the next thing is they'll see a video about starseeds, and it will start the expansion process for that person. So I never look at that stuff as oh, that's terrible. I think, great, it's out in the collective now.
I know, I was so excited. I was like, yes. I know, I shared it with a few people, and they were kind of rude at the end, the newscasters, but they're like, oh, well, they were so rude. And I'm like, but they put it out there. So good. Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah.
It's if they had put it out there positively, the people that were resistant would have been even more resistant. So that negative putting out there allows people to sort of connect with it. Again, I don't see it as a bad thing at all.
No, it was fun. I was probably the most excited about that. I mean, I see a lot of news clips that I post so people can kind of keep up on what's going on. And that one was like, oh, I really like this one. Yeah. Because I'm sick of the 3D stuff. I think most of us are.
Yeah. And that's a common not complaint, but thing that people come to me with, that, why hasn't it moved? Why, are we not doing enough? Do we need to do more? And energetically, what I suggest is to come to peace with where you are. Because while you're emitting, it's not happening fast enough. It's, what am I doing right or wrong? Blah, blah, blah. Do I need to do something else? You're in resistance to what is, and that's what you're emitting. So to find peace, be okay with exactly where it is, and you drop the resistance, you drop the wishing and wanting it to be different. If you just drop it all and just be here and now, you begin to emit peace. And that's what you see more and more in your world. And what I have experienced and talk about is in a way, the world is the illusion. It's that hard light hologram. Buie tangia se tutaka. Shiandakam buti didi kongatiasa. Kiotaraya toye takambo utirs taka akanatea chuka botoyo no koyetse. Sikanga. Si kagamba akorietse sasa. So it's an illusion in that what you see in your world is really only there to show you you. And what is moving within you to be healed. So if you are in the middle of a heavy lockdown, or have been, whatever you were triggered to feel in that scenario was a reflection or a guide to what still was encoded here. My experience of those 2 years was very different to most people, very different to, say, the people in Melbourne here who had it excessively tough. It's because those issues were not mine to be healed. Let me tell you, I've got my own issues, but they're not reflected in that scenario. So wherever people are and what they're experiencing on a big picture level is what they need to be experiencing. And it's not an accident what comes into our lives. So when something is brought to you and you are triggered, if you can stay interested in it, you might not be able to stop it, but you have to have like at least 2 molecules of your brain saying, okay, I'm in the middle of a healing, bloody terrible or whatever it is, but I want to understand. So as you feel and breathe it and find a different frequency. So if you're triggered to feel anger and you stay in that anger or feel victimized by the situation, that's what you're emitting. And you will bring situations or people to you over and over to trigger that same energy so that you eventually move through it and go, I understand.
Right.
So as you shift this, the world begins to reflect that. And we know this because there are people all through this realm that have very different experiences to each other. And it's because it's all perfect in a way. It's all a symphony that's playing out, and we've all got different notes to contribute to the symphony. And in a way, the symphony was written a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
And we are playing out those notes very purposefully.
Yeah, we write it before we show up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think it's beautiful how everybody fits together. You know, everybody's got a gift, and then that gift fits with this gift, and all these people are just like building the puzzle. That's what I found to be really a great thing with all the Starseeds. Like no one is exactly the same.
Yeah, there are very young channelers, for example, that, you know, have piercings and tats and stuff like that. And that's certainly not my way of connecting. But there are so many different demographics on this planet that we need teachers and healers that are a match or resonate with different demographics around the realm. And so you're right, everybody is needed very much in exactly the way they are. When I look at my YouTube stats, most of my people are 45 to 55 years. So I'm the older, because I have gray hair. I connect with an older demographic.
Yeah. Well, and we're kind of, in some ways, we're paving the way for certain groups, but in other ways, they're already working. Like a lot of them are already working. It really doesn't matter how old you are. Even the little kids that are like 6 and 7, they can tell you things that you you're amazed by. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love it, actually. And they're usually older souls than we are.
Yeah,
They're
the more
containing. Yeah.
I agree. I think the souls coming in now are the most advanced. Like I think of Dolores Cannon's 3 waves, and I'm definitely the first wave. I'm like tired. I've been on my journey for 35 years. I meditated first when I was 22. And when I was 27, I went on my spiritual journey very intently. And it became the main focus of my life, more than getting married, more than a career. And I have sort of lived and breathed understanding myself all of that time, reading many books, I went to what would be called a Western mystery school for about 18, and we learned all about the human condition, the emotional body, through not just lecturing, but through practical exercises that showed us who we truly were and showed us how we were controlled by those first 7-year programs.
Yeah.
But this has been a lifelong journey for me. So the way the light language works with me is when I do my sessions, they intersperse all the way through. And so the light language we don't need to understand it. You just have to feel it and breathe it. But I have allowed the light language to just flow when it needs to. I can feel it coming up almost like a sneeze. It's like one of those processes you can't stop. And I can feel the energy and the muscles tingling in my throat and in the back of my jaw. So when I'm teaching or healing, it just comes up, and it gives the healing process happens then on 2 layers, on 2 levels. So if you have resistance saying, oh, but look, I don't believe that, or it's never worked before, why will it work now? Those sort of things are addressed by the light language.
Yeah. Because it's a frequency that you don't really understand. So it just comes in and yeah.
Yeah. And from my sort of looking around and research, more and more people are actually speaking light language. It's becoming more and more common. And I think it's because we are healing, we are expanding, and then these energies are coming in to assist us to assist other people. So I actually have been traveling around New South Wales in Australia for the last 1.5 years. It'll be 2 years in November, and moving around all the time. And so wherever I am, I'm working on the grid work, the ley lines around at least around New South Wales. So I'll be sitting next to a lake, and I can feel it come up. So I'll stand up. Hopefully there's no one around, and I start singing and toning and bringing through and anchoring in to that area. And I've worked in some places where there's been trauma there, like massacres or SRA, whatever you want to call it. Yongapati. Shamyandakaya, Tayabakoyatakaya, Nananakike, Sanako, Kipakakabotayataya, Kiyandakakike. And what they're saying is, and sometimes I can translate it, because what happens is when I'm speaking light language, my neocortex is blank. I'm not thinking. It's just coming through. And then sometimes a thought will come in, and or an image, a vision. So some people can translate it word for word, but it's not what I do. But that last little bit we are all doing that. We are all doing our own grid work. Even though I'm sort of moving around doing this here, when you go anywhere, if you go to a park, you go to the supermarket, you're doing your grid work. You are bringing through energy into the realm and anchoring it in.
Yeah. I think that's part of the reason. So we've all been in different geographical areas. Like it's really hard to find another starseed right next to you. So I feel like that's why. And then also activating all the people around you at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally agree. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you don't have to talk to
What
them.
No. And although it's very interesting in
It
my
is
travel,
interesting. Yeah.
I'll be standing there like I like looking for Tartarian buildings. So
Mm-hmm.
I will go and take photos all around and of the buildings that obviously have that influence. And I'll be standing there and I'll be taking photos, and a guy will be riding by on his bike, and he stops and he goes, "Are you into Tartaria?" Like you don't, it's just you get magnetized. Or I see somebody sitting with their dog in the park and I go and sit down, and they're a QHHT practitioner, and we sit and talk for 5 hours, and then they're gone and you never see them again. So you come
Right.
in, and in fact, it happened to me about 2 weeks ago. I met this QHHT practitioner, and we sat talking about our experiences, and I could feel us trading codes, trading knowledge. I got up and we said goodbye, and I went home and I went to sleep for 2 hours to recalibrate and incorporate her codes
Mm-hmm.
into me. It's just amazing. And that's how it works. There's a greater synchronicity happening at a higher level than
Yeah.
maybe we conceive.
Yeah, it's so true. And since we're all kind of coming together now, at least I've seen a lot of coming together. It's like we are coding, and there's all this coding going on. You can even see the codes. Like somebody will say, "Oh, well, I'm gonna hand you this. Can you see it?" And you're like, "I do see it. I don't know what it is, but I see
Yeah.
it." And it's something that you're doing to heal someone else. It's just amazing what's going on right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our higher selves are trading codes right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually having a discussion or an interaction, however you want to describe it, while we're talking. And this is why I love to talk to people all around the internet, because we're all picking up these things. Endukapatio changa kada sikanketo chenna makaya chenak kuboyatianaka ki ajeti unziki atakariaka. And this being is going,
Yeah, I can feel it. Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this stuff is just amazing what's going on. And the more you let go, the more you can participate in it. That's kind of how it feels to me. So tell us about your
Yeah.
class. I know you're going to be doing something.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I have started this year inner child healing workshops. And this will be my second one, is coming up on the 2nd of April, and again then on the 6th of April. So there are 2 classes each week, and we go for 4 weeks. And I've only got 10 people in each class, so it's very one-on-one. We move through each person, work with each person individually. So inner child, again, as I said, it's sort of a misnomer. It's actually your unfinished business. You can deal with your galactic trauma. You can deal with your ancestral stuff, your DNA lineage in the inner child things. So it's an emotional intelligence. It's an emotional body healing. So the beginning of it is really to help everybody see the extent of the program, the depth to which we are programmed. And I don't think people quite understand. Your audience probably would, but when I'm talking to people that are just, say if I go to a fair or a market and do readings and hear, you know, quick impromptu ones, they're not quite aware the degree to which we are not really choosing how to be in the world, that we are conditioned to respond from the aspect of that, the wounds of the inner child, or from the unfinished business. Imbakaya te asunge tama, sia doste stastaya ungakati chakandaya bati keniatsa, ki batiacha, se kukamba atia. It's a coming home to heart, the course. So it's moving through and understanding the layers to get to here. So it's 4 weeks, about 2.5 hours each session. And we look at the program, we work through it each week, and looking sometimes, as I've said, because you're in your own rut and your own well-worn path of perception, it's sometimes hard to see it because you are so much it. But when you're with 9 other people and they're talking about their stuff and their stuff, you get to see your things from a different perspective. Sometimes it's easy to see someone else's stuff more than your own. So this is the beginning of the journey. If you're having problems in your life, if you're feeling you're blocked, if you're feeling you're not on your path, if you're feeling not in the flow, this is the ideal workshop, because I will show you from the big picture perspective what's actually operating. And then, as I say, throughout the entire time, there's light language that will address the group, or address when I'm working one-on-one, it will help the person that I'm working on. And as we work through 4 weeks, because I'm asking you to change a way of thinking that you've been thinking for 50, 40, or 30 years.
Yeah.
And we are hardwired to think that way. There's an understanding that there is this neuron net pathway that is that well-worn path. So what I'm asking you to do is to pull out of that, to make a different choice. So the 4 weeks enables you to get that wheel running, get that momentum going. And in fact, 3 of the last group is coming back for this one because they want to continue
To peel
the
away the
progress.
layers. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do one-on-one sessions, but again, the group ones are very effective because in seeing somebody else's. So when I'm taking somebody through processes and helping them to become aware, it sparks things off in the guys watching, the other people watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite powerful.
It is really good. I used to do group like that, and it's really helpful, because one thing we don't get, it's almost like being in a bad relationship and you don't see what the other you don't see how bad it actually is, but everybody from the outside is like, what are you doing? And you finally see it, and it's like the light dawns, but you're also doing that with yourself. So it's really important to let go of stuff. Today we started talking about something really crazy, which, you know, program wise, it would make people think, what? And it has to do with, where are the continents actually located? Are they in the places that they say they are? And the answer
I've done a
is
deep
no.
dive into that. Yeah, I've done a deep dive into that for 2 years through the Flat Earth and Tartaria communities. I'm open. I could not tell you the truth of it, because I think that just like if you're at a lecture, there are 10,000 lectures happening in the one room, even though there's one. It's the same thing with our realities. We are collectively holding this together with our consciousness. And as we begin to expand, it's going to change in ways that we can't even imagine.
It will change as it expands. What I'm just interested in what's the actual story before, because they told us these things and then we found a map, because the hidden history is like a group of people, and we found a map where east was west, and it was flopped or flipped, and we're like, okay, what else is wrong in there? So it's just, we need to peel it all away within ourselves so that we can go forward and just experience the magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, I have a question for you.
Sure.
When I spoke with Campbell from Autodidactic, excuse me, a couple of days ago, somebody put a comment, because I talk about quantum mechanics, I talk about the observer effect, etc., etc. And there's a subset of people that believe that quantum mechanics is false science, that it is another way that we're being controlled. So what do you get? Because I said, I pulled 3 tarot cards on it. And the past was, it was the best they could do in the time that, in that time of the world. But the current one was the Knight of Pentacles, which is stodgy, not moving forward, wanting the same old, same old. And so I said that where we are, it is no longer going to be relevant. And the future was the Page of Pentacles, which is new ideas, dreaming, doing things. So do you think quantum mechanics has always been false science, or is it just turning into something that isn't relevant anymore?
The first thing that came in is it's a representation of like the way we actually build things in our mind.
Right.
So it is real. But it's like how we explain it to ourselves. So think of it as grid work explained, maybe.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how it comes in.
Yeah,
So
I think that
they were just triggered.
yes,
Yeah.
I know. I know. It and in fact, I've talked to a couple of truthers. I've done chats with them on their channels, and they're talking about, we've been lied to, and this one chap gets on a soapbox every weekend, and he's got all these posters, and he's explaining why flat Earth is, the truth and everything. And I understand his passion is his passion, but I said to him, if you were to bottom line, and this is what I would say to anybody, if you're triggered in any situation, it doesn't matter what it is, your line of inquiry is to bottom line, what is the emotion you are being triggered to feel? In a phrase, can you put a phrase? And so I said to this guy, this is betrayal. You've been betrayed. And the latest scenario that is helping trigger you is you believe we've been lied to about the structure of the realm. And so you're feeling betrayal. If you healed the betrayal energy by feeling it and breathing it, and looking it in the eye, you would feel differently about being lied to. It would be now become something exciting to further make inquiries about, rather than fighting.
Right.
Because it's the bottom line. It's only happening to show you part of your signature. And we all have those things in our world. For this guy, it was flat Earth. For somebody else, it's relationships. Somebody else, it's the government. Somebody else, it's the neighbor, the next door neighbor. A great opera, like how operas are all, drama and entertaining. It is to look at it that way, in some sort of, don't make it so personal, don't make it so life or death, but really understand it's a place of learning, it's a place of gaining awareness. Abaki yandeka. Shiandaku kapakuchetsukadandiaka. Kiyam oyanyange. Hayangi noyangi noya. I unpeeling.
Beautiful.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, we're creating our own reality and we have to take ownership of it, basically. So I feel like that's part of Ascension, is to say, oh, I actually picked coming here. And I picked the lessons I was going to learn here. And if I didn't pick them there, before I came, then I picked them by acting a certain way while I was here. So just coming out of being a victim is really important. And that's how we walk right into being a sovereign being.
Yeah, absolutely important step, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, understanding that there are no accidents and that we are an active creator and participant
Yeah.
in life that we're walking through.
Yeah,
Mm.
we're so much more powerful than we ever thought.
Mm. Well, I was talking to a friend of mine last night, and I was telling her about a time when I was in my 30s where I was focusing on creating a gold coin. And I had been taught a process to do it. And I was listening to a cassette in my car as I'm driving around. And I had my hand upright on my thigh as I'm driving. And the person leading us through the exercise said, imagine it, whatever it is you want, you could choose anything in your hand, feel the weight of it, feel it, the texture of it, it's there, and feel the frequency of it, because it is our quantum signature. It is our signature, that our energy that we are creating this out of. So it's you in a way. So don't see it as separate of you, see it as you, made up of your quantum material.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there driving, and I go to work, and this guy was a prepper, the guy I was working for. And when I got to work, he came to me immediately and said, look, we're having a cash flow problem. Can I pay you in a gold coin? So within half an hour, I had a gold coin in my hand. And this is the power that we have. And as we get to know it and trust it and believe it, we can start pulling from the higher frequencies down into this reality what it is we want to experience, and to understand that it is us that we are creating out of. It isn't separate. It is us. It is our energy, our frequency, our plasma, however you want to define it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
And it makes it so much easier to do that if you're not stuck with, oh, I got to hang on to this, and this, though.
Yeah.
That's the big conundrum I think that everybody's having. But it's just it feels so good to let go of stuff. It really
Mm.
does.
Mm.
Yeah.
I used to describe we're living in a Jerry Springer show.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because we're all caught up in the drama, the emotion, the blaming, and in a way we love it. On one level, it's the known, it's the familiar. It is
Yeah.
like getting a shot in the arm of some drug when we're in this drama. And so we have to, before we can have a greater, more expansive experience, we have to wean ourselves off that drug of choice, which is drama, anger. He did that, she did that, it's not fair, I'm a victim. All of this stuff is to be looked at as something we're moving through. It isn't who we are at all. It's a phase that we've been stuck in, obviously, but it's all knowledge, it's all experience, it's all wisdom that adds to the whole. But enough. We're done.
Yeah.
Mm.
We are done with that.
Yeah.
It's really nice to let it go too. Soap operas are
I
not fun, really.
no, not to the deeper part of us, but
No.
in our image, in our altered image, in our altered ego, it is what we're used to.
Mm-hmm.
It's the norm. And we have to ask, what could my life be? How could my life be broader and more interesting and have more depth than I've been living all of this time?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. It's absolutely beautiful.
Mm. So what I would like to do before we finish, because we're
Mm-hmm.
nearly up to an hour, is I want to bring through some light language for people. So whoever's watching, I want you to think of something that's tripping you up, something that makes you get triggered, that is causing you anxiety or whatever. So just think of that moment and allow that feeling to arise in your body. But keep two molecules watching what you're thinking. So if you might have an issue with your partner and you've had an argument, so where do you feel that in your body? Where is it in your torso? Is it mostly in your throat or your heart, your solar plexus or your tummy? So just close your eyes and drop in and begin to feel it. And I am going to bring through some language specifically to help shift that and recode it for everyone.
Beautiful.
So take a breath and settle in and just be open to feeling it, just for a minute or two. Sayukamanyane kuyena, ayake onunyane, ike onanyane, ayeki, ayeki. Ayekionanye, Iekioyano, Ayepietoyo, Ioye. Aishiongaena, Ionakabutestendaka. Aritiko, rieti, sanyatarikiko, papapapatien, skakakartikanzetskanga. Ziudrio jonga, bietia toriakiananaka. Bite koriats. Ijakomburtika, burkitika, shinzakadianda. Kikakaka, kuyachanskia, skia, boriatia, skanya, tariakiako. And breathe and feel. Ajukandria shesa, sa. Shukungia boriaka, sa. Ejukandria shesi, sia. Koye kangi tsakabachananakika. Haretia.
Beautiful.
And take a breath and settle and allow that energy. It will take a little while to recalibrate and settle in. And if people want to, they can come back and watch it a couple of times and let it sit further and further, because that's the layers. That's the layers. Ajien Nakaya.
Beautiful, Joe. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for coming.
My pleasure. It's been a fantastic conversation.
It has. It's been beautiful. Well, thank you, everybody. And all of Joe's links are going to be right below. Okay. Bye.